President Donald Trump is in the Middle East on a grand tour during which he has announced a new vision for the U.S. foreign policy posture there. He has explicitly repudiated interventionism in favor of what you might call a position of national defense. The big soundbite on the philosophical side so far has likely been that it's not his job to sit in judgment on the leaders of foreign countries. It's his job to defend the United States of America. And that is unquestionably true. It is also unquestionably true that whether interventionism is the correct posture for the United States or not, the people who put him in office are tired of it domestically. So there's quite a bit of political wisdom in his taking this line, which was very clearly aimed just as much at the audience back home as it was at the audience in Saudi Arabia, where I believe he actually said it. So what does this mean in practice? Well, it means a number of things. Some of them are familiar. He is still all about making deals. He has made a big arms and investment deal with Saudi Arabia. Total value of the Saudi investment in the U.S., I believe, is $600 billion. We are selling them as part of that $142 billion worth of arms. He took the opportunity to encourage them to normalize relations with Israel by joining the landmark diplomatic achievement of his first term, the Abraham Accords, but he qualified it by saying that basically they should do it in their own time. While there, he said something that was indeed quite novel. Maybe normalizing is putting it strongly, but he wants to improve U.S. relations with the new government in Syria under Omar al-Shara'a, who is a former al-Qaeda commander turned violent insurrectionist who successfully drove out the Assads. He encouraged them, too, to sign up for these accords, which is an interesting new note. It certainly reveals the extent to which things have changed in the region just in the past couple of years, that such a thing would even be possible to suggest. So this kind of activity from Trump is indeed familiar. He is all about making deals. He's all about kind of notching up tangible achievements, getting them down on paper. The difference is this time that there is, I think, much more visible daylight between him and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Much more suggestion that the kind of strategic embrace of Israel by America under Trump will be less close, possibly even kind of returning to the more distant posture that we saw under Obama. Again, whether that's wise or not, in the long term, is hard to say. It certainly didn't work out well for the Obama administration. On the other hand, the refusal of the Netanyahu government to prematurely end its war against Hamas is an enormous fly in the ointment for Trump's overall kind of deal-making endeavor here. So again, in kind of a crude pragmatic sense, it's sort of hard to see him doing anything else, even if it ultimately redounds to the strategic harm of the United States. Now again, Trump's statement that the Saudis should normalize with Israel in their own time is a recognition that currently it's basically impossible for them to do so as long as the Israel-Hamas war is continuing, or maybe not impossible, but extraordinarily difficult. And that is true for the Syrian government as well. However, he's clearly still interested in, bringing the Arab states together under this diplomatic and strategic umbrella and getting them to play nice with Israel, and also, it seems, getting Israel to play nice with them. That much is familiar. There's another way in which this kind of effort is not new. The serial normalization of relations between Arab states and Israel has kind of been a process that's been in train for many, many decades. And really, you could certainly make the argument that the Obama policy of reorienting the balance of power in the region by empowering Iran was the departure from the norm. That is something that Trump very much undid, more or less, as soon as he came into office. He immediately began hitting Iran hard. He pulled us out of the JCPOA, Obama's disastrous nuke deal, and he has now, when he does discuss Iran, he talks more and more about getting a deal. Again, that's sort of the big theme of his efforts in the region. He does make clear reference to these tactics from his first term, but there is definitely a new emphasis on actually getting a deal done. I think a sign of that is the fact that he has chosen his friend and real estate business crony, very successful in that business, Steve Witkoff, to kind of be the point man on nuclear negotiations with Iran. This is interesting, I think, and a lot of people think that it is not a great move. Witkoff simply doesn't know the territory. He is not experienced doing nuclear negotiation. And yes, obviously there's always an argument to be made that fresh blood is good, particularly in an seemingly intractable situation, like the effort to make sure that Iran never gets a nuke. But Witkoff is not, he does not seem to really have the granular knowledge of the region or the granular knowledge of these negotiations, which have now stretched on and on and on, really to kind of advance our interests there in a meaningful way. Although perhaps, that statement could be proven wrong. We could get a deal that, gets Trump everything he wants, which is the Iranians to back down and to simply sort of give up their nuclear ambitions, although I'm dubious about that. He's also taking a slightly different tone around Qatar. He's obviously taken a huge gift from them, or said he would take a huge gift from them in the form of a very, very expensive plane. He is inking a kind of a similar deal to the Saudis. I forget the exact dollar total, but it involves investment. The marquee piece of that agreement is a huge order for Boeing airplanes, as well as some military and security cooperation. Pete Hegseth was there as well to work that out. So all in all, it really has been an exposition of Trump's vision for the region, which he of course paints in the most golden terms possible. And while there's stuff to quibble with, certainly he should be getting a huge number of concessions from Qatar just for having done them the honor of taking their plane. The real question is he going to be able to swing it? I certainly am hoping that he can. I know that many Americans probably are, for their sort of smaller quibbles with the deal, but also hoping that the administration does not lose sight of who its enemies and friends in the region are in the pursuit of locking down as many big, beautiful deals as possible.